भरतादि पूर्वीक मुनिगणवेदिनी पूर्वीक मुनिगणवेदिनी वेदशास्त्र पुराणेतिहास काव्यनाटकालं कृताम् उत्तुंग हिमाचल केदार मकुटा समुद्र संप्रोक्षितोर्मिका भोजचरणा द्वीपकल्पां वटुतरदीपां विकल्पाम् नीलमलयनिरतां नीलाम्बरी सारङ्गमयकाननाम्भरणाम् अमला गङ्गा यमुना सरस्वती गोदावरी नर्मदा कावेरी सिन्धु सरोवर ब्रह्मपुत्र जलव्यापिनी विविधाकारां धीरां धीरसमर्चितां गम्भीरां गगनान्तस्थां ज्ञानार्णवां कापि सुलभां करुणासागरां कलावती कलालाभां कलानन्दकलिकां शृङ्गाररससम्पूर्णाम् उत्तुङ्गगोपुरसदना महाभोगसम्पत्प्रदात्रीं निर्मोहा यमनियमाद्याष्टाङ्गयोगविहितां कल्याणगुणशालिनी यमनियमाद्यष्टाङ्गयोगविहितां कल्याणगुणशालिनी ज्ञानबलैश्वर्यवीर्यतेजोषद्यौदार्य बन्धुत्वसौलभ्य सौशील्यवात्सल्य कृपापागां जनसम्मोहां वन्दे मातरं वन्दे मातरं वन्दे मातरम्
ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணலாமா சார்? ஓகே சார், நீங்கள் இன்ட்ரோ ஏதாவது சொல்கிறீங்களா? இல்லை, ஓகே. Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for being here on a Sunday mic. Okay. Sunday morning, thank you very much for being here. And thank you so much, Arkay sir, for facilitating this talk. So now I'm here on a short stay in Chennai. Actually leaving straight from here to the airport to catch a flight, Coimbatore போகிறதுக்கு. அப்புறம் திரும்ப வருவேன் in November. But in the window, when about 10 years ago, I think 2014, I presented a lecture here on the notice for Sahityas of Dikshitar. So, அதுக்கப்புறம் 10 வருஷம் கழிச்சு, this is a very nice opportunity to kind of reminisce on that and get back to it. Sundaraman, Sakima. And after all our inspiration is from Dikshitar. So, and I will keep on sharing that. But for it, that's the reason I played this one first. So, as an Indian living abroad, as NRIs, as you would call it. So, we are literally ambassadors of Indian culture. And we continue to be inspired by the Vatrada Utru, meaning the never drying fountain of Indian culture. So, so this song, this is about 20 minutes long. It's completely about India. or Bharat, as to, so to say. So it was on the occasion of the 75th anniversary of Indian independence. So it's a Raga Malika and 75 ragas. And the name of the raga is either mentioned or hinted in the text. So you all know what the inspiration is. It was the Dikshitar family, both Muthuswami Dikshitar, then his nephew Subrahma Dikshitar has also done it, and his father has also done it in a big way. So that's the thing that I follow to the extent I can in a combination of Karnatic and Hindustani ragas as well. I'll just give you one or two examples. For example, Yamani Yamadhyashtanga Yoga Vihitam Kalyana Guna Shalini. Yamani Yama, that's Rag Yaman. That's also known as Kalyan. So the same text when used in the Kalyani Prayogam, it's Yamani Yamadhyashtanga Yoga Vihitam Kalyana Gunashalinim. So that's what we have done. Use some interesting raga mudras in the subsequent sections. If you have not watched this piece, please do watch it. It's 75 Raga Malika, which is released in 2022. One or two things are interesting. Athod Yadi Vadya Sammodinim Viraginim. So Athod is Athod refers to a musical instrument. It's mentioned in Valmiki Ramayanam, and it's probably the origin of the word Ravan Hatta, which is played in Rajasthan. So there is also mention in the Ramayana where when Hanuman lands in Lanka, he sees the Rakshasis playing all kinds of instruments. It's mention aayirukku. Athod Yadi Vadya Samohinimla the Todi ondurudhu. And it's Karnatic Todi first and then Hindustani Todi next. So that way all the ragas get covered. And we have a whole bunch of very, very talented singers that participate in this, and that has really lifted up the whole thing. And I'm just hoping that, it still needs to reach a lot more people. So that was my introduction to the inspiration that we derive from Indian culture itself, and also from Dikshitar, and also from Rasikas, and also from friends and well-wishers, and what we call every meeting, every conversation which speaks about our heritage is what we refer to as a satsang. So every satsang is a source of inspiration. So on that note, I want to start and offer my gratitude to all of you here, to Sri Arkay, and for the opportunity to speak and share my thoughts. See, the goal of this presentation is the following. See, I went to the US in 1984, and it was a very different place at that time. So if you think of the stuff that we are doing now, this is what do you call? It's on a Google Drive. It's a presentation which can be shared from anywhere. 80s we could not have even imagined anything like this. The whole idea for Wi-Fi and AI vera. So I just said, give me AI give me a picture of the sun shining through the clouds. Okay, so that is the kind of stuff that we have in this day and age. And I like this imagery because it's like katradhu kaiman alavu. This is more than a kaiman, and kalladadu ulagalavu. And this is not even the size of this is not even a picture of the entire universe. Entire universe we can't even fathom it. So we are constantly learning every day. We are picking up something new every day, and there's so much to learn from, so many tools to learn from, and every project that we do is a learning experience. Any composition that we create, or any collaboration that we do, anybody that we work with, and there are some in the room that I've already worked with. Where is Arun? Sorry? Oh, phone. Okay. Yeah. So Andamadri, Aditya's worked with me, and so in every project that involves cross-continental collaboration, there's so much to learn from one another. So, and that is also something that drives the work that we all do. I can speak for myself, and I'm assuming that that's the same thing that drives everyone. So the topic is titled Seemayil Sangeetham. Seema. The word Seema means, actually it refers to what? So border. So how is divinity described? Yeah, Nisima Mahima Nitya Yavana, like it's in the comes in the Lalita Sahasranama. So borderless basically. Asim, Nisima, Adala, even in GNB's composition, I think the Nisima, the word comes there. So Seemayil Sangeetham na, but how is our music out outside of India basically? So now there's a lot of people doing this kind of work in many different ways, and to mention one and not mention other would not be right. So I'm just going to say that acknowledge all the great people that are doing great work outside of the country in taking Carnatic music and Hindustani music and other aspects of our culture to the youth, let's say in the United States, so that the youth is very well informed. In fact, the per capita Bharatanatyam Arangetrams in the US is a lot more than it is in India. Seriously. And it's a part of a checklist of most of the kids before they graduate out of high school. Similarly, they want to compete in a competition in Cleveland and get a certificate or something. So it's like, in a way, it's healthy competition because it allows it. And the age, and the unbridled energy of the children and the brightness is channeled into learning different arts, which can only be good for humanity once they grow old and start doing something with the art. So there's a lot happening. So, but what I wanted to share was the intent of this presentation is to reflect on what it was like in 1984, both in India and in the US, and what it is now. So, simple thing is that we have more states now than we had at that time. So that is landmass is the same. Yeah, administratively we have more states. Then and of course lots of things like this is the face of India now in terms of talks and how India is perceived as a growing soft power and also as a growing economy and as a growing brain power and so on and so forth. So in the context of all that, I want to share with you some sources of inspiration, how Dikshita continues to inspire all of us, and also share some vignettes, some stories of what I've been fortunate enough to do with choirs and with orchestra over the years, and play you some recordings, and then just share the inspiration that's all I have. And if you have anything else, please do suggest. I'm happy to talk. The only thing, we have a time constraint. Okay, idu vandu ennadhu yaarka puriyirudha? Yanake puriyala, because I asked Gemini AI to generate an image of Carnatic music. This is what it did. Nalla da irukku, but I don't know how to explain it. But anyway, we'll stick with this for now. So what is Carnatic music? That is one of the definitions. And geographically, Carnatic music is defined as anything Vijayanagar and south, that is Hampi and south, is Carnatic music. And anything in the rest of India is Bharatiya Sangeet or Hindustani music basically. Hindustani music, now if you translate it, it just translates to Indian music. It's nothing else. But commonly we could refer to both these music streams as Shastriya Sangeet because they are based on Shastras. The Sangeeta Shastra basically, that is what it is. So this terminology that's associated with this, come on. Yeah. So the face of Carnatic music is the kacheri. Okay? Because without kacheri, how are people going to listen to Carnatic music? But behind what is heard in the kacheris is the foundation of the Sangeeta Shastra. So we only sing music that is based on ragas. And ragas are defined by Shastras, and Shastras are actually written down and passed down from generation to generation. Things change. The definition of ragas also changes with time. So the only thing, the core is the same. Core of the grammar is the same, but some of the prayogams and other things change. And classical music is something that survives the test of time. So that's probably the best definition of classical music, because okay. So let's get into this. These are fundamental questions, and I've written an article titled Tradition, Classicism and Innovation in Carnatic Music. It was published in Shruti a long time ago. It's not in their online portal anymore, but I have it somewhere and I'm happy to share it if you're interested. So it gives my perspective on these three ideas: tradition, classicism, and innovation within Carnatic music, from what it was, maybe 7-8 years ago. And I was reading it this morning, and I figured out that nothing has changed. So in 8 years, although the world has changed, some of the things that I thought would happen have actually started happening. But basically, classicism is dealing with something that withstands the test of time, and tradition is a set of generally accepted values, and innovation within the classical paradigm plays around with tradition and goes past some of the generally accepted norms, like the definition of a kacheri, or even the definition of a compositional structure, or something that we are going to see. Simple example. Before the time of Tyagaraja and Dikshitar, we used to have kritis which had multiple charanams. அப்படியே போயிட்டே இருக்கும், 12 சரணம் அந்த மாதிரிலாம் இருக்கும். Just like if you take Purandaradas compositions, or even if you take Tyagaraja's the Utsava Sampradaya kritis and all, they have many charanams. But it's only from Tyagaraja's time when Dikshitar cut it down to just one charanam. So that was an innovation. And in some cases, he took that charanam out, because there are compositions only with a pallavi and an anupallavi, which is remarkably similar to what is heard in Hindustani music, where you just have the sthai and the antara. Whether it's the khayal or the drupad, you only have sthai antara in many different cases. Rather than fight with the definition of innovation and tradition, let's go with what Dr. Balamurali Krishna said. Tradition is nothing other than the basic grammar around which a superstructure is built. So it's just basic grammar, that's all there is to tradition. He goes on to say that anyone is free to innovate, and only those innovations that are any good will secure the approval of Rasikas for sustained periods of time and continue as traditions. So tradition continuously keeps getting re-established. And anything that survives the test of time is a classic. So that's where the classicism comes into picture, regardless of whether it's a composition featured in a film or whether it is an innovation within the Kacheri Paddhati. So Kacheri Tukkada Padradala, I don't know how it was once upon a time, 50-60 years ago, but now people wait for it, right? And it's nice. I mean, what's wrong with it? Then including abhangs, including ragamalas, and including Hindustani ragas and all that, those are all innovations that we have actually worked with. And even doing Shruti Bedam, it is refined to a very fine art right now. I mean, it's very commonly encountered and very nicely done. So these were not there they were there in here and there, but now it's very beautifully, a lot of things are being very beautifully done. So let's keep these in mind. And sorry, I normally use Keynote, but I thought it'll be easier to share if we did it on Google. Yeah, fine. So I just want to look at expanding the frontiers of Indian classical music, or even Indian music, or simply Carnatic music, through innovation in the context of the following. One is compositional forms, which we know has been going on for a while now. Even creation of new compositional forms. What is to stop somebody from creating the equivalent of a bandish in Carnatic music with Tamil lyrics or Telugu lyrics or something like that? Maybe even creating them on the spot, like it used to be in olden times. Then compositional structure, like it has changed in the past, that could also change. And all these are within the Shastras of Carnatic music. Tilana structure can change. Then lyrical themes. The lyrical themes of Muthuswami Dikshitar is completely along the lines of Kshetradanam, right? For the most part. Kshetradanam, illa the kritis, they are all about performing puja, like Tantra, Srividya Tantra. And then also on the idea of the Guru in the yogic tradition, or in the Natha tradition, or in the Srividya tradition, and the Guru Guha Vibhakti kritis abdinirukku. Then everything else is around traveling around and describing the places that he visited, completely along the lines of the ancient people that lived 1,000 years before him, the Nayanmars and the Alvars, and even the others. Dikshitar traveled around the land, and so did his guru, Chidambaranatha Yogi. And even Bhaskara Raya, the Srividya exponent, he also traveled around the land. So there's a lot of precedents for that. Adi Shankara. So those are his lyrical themes. Tyagaraja's lyrical themes are soaked in bhakti. And if you look at the Padam Javali paradigm, there's a lot of Shringara rasa that is in there. So it is possible during the time of independence, during the independence struggle, the lyrics of Bharatiyar were taken to the stage in Carnatic music. So that was Veera Rasam, and the thirst for freedom and all that was portrayed in the world of Carnatic music. So changes in themes, in lyrical themes, is nothing new. It's always been there. And the thing is, it's always been dealt with the right spirit as well, because there's an element of surrender when it comes to dealing with the Shastriya Sangeetham of India. So it's like you surrender to the music itself, and it's something very different from other musical traditions. So in fact, it is the idea of becoming one with the music and regarding music as a means of spiritual liberation, as well as the raga-oriented music, which is what sets aside Indian music from other world forms. And we can repeat this any number of times. This is where Indian music stands out. So other areas of innovation, like extending the range of ensembles. Right now in a kacheri, you have, where did the violin come from? It was not there 300 years ago. It came. Where did the harmonium come from? It was never there before. It came with the missionaries. It was used for church music, basically. But what happened? It got adapted into bhajans. And today we cannot imagine a kirtan or a bhajan without a harmonium. Even during a Margari season, you actually carry the harmonium and play it with you, right? So, and the reason harmonium came to India was the organ was too bulky to transport. So let's have a hand pedal and make the harmonium. That's how it came to be. Keyboards. The mandolin, as it is played today, the kuti mandolin that we have, single strings and electrically amplified, technically it's different from the acoustic mandolin, which has two sets of two strings, right? So eight strings together, and you can even sustain the notes by kind of doing the plectrum on them. So this is not really a mandolin. So, but anyway, it has taken an important space, and it's wonderful. A guitar has been adapted. So, apart from this, can we play ragas in larger ensembles? And I want to share some of our experiences doing that. Can a raga be sung together in the Western paradigm with multi-part harmony? Can a raga be played in a symphony orchestra? And a lot of these things have been experimented with, not just during our lifetime, but even before our lifetimes, like Shankar Jaikishan and others. And Ilayaraja has done quite a bit of it. Shankar Jaikishan's favorite raga was, anybody knows? Sivaranjani. And Lakshmikant Pyarelal? No, Sindhu Bhairavi. And, or Bhairavi. And Kalyanji Anandji has used a lot of Charukesi. Yeah, not lots, but it kind of stands out compared to others.
Madan Mohan has used a lot of Charukesi.
Madan Mohan used a lot. Madan Mohan used a lot of ragas actually, and Roshan used a lot of Yaman and Yaman Kalyan. But when it comes to Carnatic music, Ilayaraja's used all ragas, a whole set of ragas, and he's really played around with orchestral music in a very powerful way. So that he was a trendsetter. There's no question about it at all. And then working with unconventional audiences. So is the Carnatic audience, as we know, is typically limited to the kacheri. I mean, it's more than the kacheri season. Yesterday I went to a kacheri, and day before yesterday I was here. So these are dedicated loyalists who come to listen to their favorite artists. And there's also a bond between Sri Arkay and the audiences, because he's done like 4,000 programs here. So he probably knows everybody that comes here by name. So it's cultivating audiences is an art. So, but is it necessary to expand the audience beyond this? Yeah, it is always nice to reach out to new audiences and totally unconventional audiences, like in the US, for example. Then diverse performers. Does it have to be always performed by somebody who's completely trained in Carnatic music or Hindustani music? Not necessarily. If the right mechanism is provided, it can be played, like we'll see in a little bit. Okay. So, innovation, like I said before, innovation is in form was done by Dikshitar in a powerful way. So, his innovation is not only in the structure of the Kriti, but one of the biggest things that he did was the negotiation with Western music. See, the time period was like in the late 1700s, right? So the British East India Company was making inroads, and that's an understatement in India. They had taken over the land. And the way I look at it is this: just imagine living in that era, ships landing, people dressed in red coming out of the ship, firing guns, taking over the land. enacting new laws, imposing new taxes. It was a completely different paradigm. I mean, it would be a struggle to live during that time. And then what does our man do? He actually listens to the tunes that came with him, and he writes lyrics in Sanskrit to them. And isn't this a tremendous form of innovation? Yeah, it is. So, and it's not recognized the way it should be. And one of my favorite things is the way he handled even the British national anthem. We don't know who asked him to do it. The details are kind of not available. I would not even say sketchy. A lot of the details are not available. The only thing we can know is I can map the way the Notiswara Sahitya's figure based on where he has traveled, and that is what I've shown in my film, the documentary film titled Colonial Interlude, and we'll figure out a way to screen it somewhere in Chennai in November. And I hope if you all stay in contact with me, I will send a link, and hopefully you can make it and watch the movie, and then we can talk about it even more. There's more to learn from it. So that's one of the innovations. And the other thing about Dikshitar is that the close link between Hindustani music, Dhrupad, and his music. Now, it can be argued. No, you don't even need to argue. It's obvious that his father had used a whole range of Hindustani ragas. So, Dikshitar did not have to go to Kasi to learn Hindustani ragas. It was already there. It was at home. So, and we don't know where Ramaswamy Dikshitar got them from. But the key similarity is the compositional structure between the Rupaka Tala Kritis of Dikshitar and the Chautal Dhrupads in Hindustani music, which fall in a 12-beat cycle with a two-part structure. Pallavi, Anupallavi, Madri, Anga vandu Sthayi Antara, Chautal 12 beats, Vilamba Rupaka Talam 6 times 2, 12 beats. And the way the syllables are distributed. So I have researched deeper than what I just talked about right now, and did a collaboration with the Gundecha brothers, and I'm just going to share a little bit of a video clip on that.
I wanted to ask about Gundecha brothers, now that people are doing it good.
Yeah. This is a beautiful composition. It is not featured in the Sangeeta Sampradaya Pradarshini. So the authenticity of this composition is questioned, but this is remarkably close to the Dhrupad style of composition. And so are many more, like Parimala Ranganatham and even Jambu Pate and all that. So the way they sound when you accompany it with the Pakhavach in this kind of a Kala Pramanam, which is difficult to maintain, it's purely Dhrupad there. So this is one of the things that I wanted to share. Then other aspects of Dikshitar, going back here. In 2011, I think maybe 2010, we did a show in Singapore called Colonial Interlude, which is the same name as the documentary here. But Colonial Interlude was like a 1.5-hour show, a live show using the Kritis and the Notiswaras of Dikshitar, live on stage with dance as well. This was at the NUS. And there we did a medley of Guru Guha compositions, which you can still see on YouTube. You can just search, and otherwise, if you can get in touch with me, I'll forward you all these links. Then, one day my daughter and I were stuck in a traffic jam, and there is this group called, there's this Irish dancer called Michael Flatley. Have you heard of him? So he produced something called the river dance. So on the river dance, he produced something called the Lord of Dance. So on the Lord of Dance, there's a tune called Gypsy, which is really haunting. So we're just playing it over and over again. So my daughter asked a question. Appa, we had finished recording Vismaya 3 years ago, before that and all that. So she asked a question, Appa, what would Dikshithar have done if he had listened to this? So I said, okay, let's see. So I immediately came up with some words, and then let's listen to this.
श्रीपतिं सीतावल्लभं श्रीमन्तं श्रुतजनफलदं भजतीमन्तं पदकरकमलं जय रामं घनश्यामं कविकुलदीपं श्रीपतिं सीतावल्लभं श्रीमन्तं श्रुतजनफलदं भजतीमन्तं पदकरकमलं शुभचत्रं चामरकरधृतसुभरत शत्रुघ्नादिसहोदरमीश्वरं तत्कीर्तिं सकलागमसन्मृतसन्मात्रं सकलाकारं तं छत्रं चामरकरधृतसुभरत शत्रुघ्नादिसहोदरमीश्वरं तत्कीर्तिं सकलागमसन्मृतसन्मात्रं सकलाकारं रामं घनश्यामं कविकुलदीपं श्रीपतिं सीतावल्लभं श्रीमन्तं श्रुतजनफलदं भजतीमन्तं पदकरकमलं जय राम.
So this is a very haunting tune, and you can listen to the whole thing online. And here's one more I want to play. This is, again, which is started by Vidita. Sorry, it's not this. Yeah.
श्रीरामं रविकुलसोममजं श्रीकरमगणितगुणमयमनिशं सीताहृद्निवसितमाश्रितकल्पतरुं कपिवरदा श्रीरामं रविकुलसोममजं श्रीकरमगणितगुणमयमनिशं सीताहृद्निवसितमाश्रितकल्पतरुं कपिवरदम् श्रीनाथं सुरगुरुगुहविदितम् आमृदुतरकरपदकमलवदनम् आमयहरणमतुलमतिमधुरवचनमतिसुखकरमचन्दनं श्रीकान्तं सुरविनुतं सीतापं श्रितफलदम् एकानेकहृदयनाथमनाश्रयाम्यहं श्रीनाथं सुरगुरुगुहविदितम् आमृदुतरकरपदकमलवदनम्.
So that's how this goes. And then if you look at, I wanted to play this to you, which she has done again. This is from, forget the right thing. This is what we call Renaissance music, which is prior to the solidification of the Western classical tradition. So Renaissance musically, you'll see a lot of modal music. So the church modes are Lydian, Dorian, etc. Lydian, we know the word Lydian Nadaswaram, but Lydian actually refers to a scale which is the equivalent of a Kalyani. So where the Ma is raised. So Sarigama Padanisa, Kalyani Ragamari on the scale. Adimari Dorian mode no nirukku. Dorian mode is Karahara Priya. So there's songs in the Dorian mode which are really, really beautiful. And there'll be no gamakam or anything like that. So this is one which is in French.
So with the
lyrics it sounds like French, yeah. So but what we are illustrating here is that the scale is based on Karahara Priya, Dorian mode as it is called. So all these go back to the fundamental question. Would we refer to the Notuswara Sahityas as Karnatic music? Anybody has an answer? But is it based on ragas? Is it based on shastras? Well, not really. But since it was created by one of the biggest authorities in Carnatic music, we call it part of the Carnatic music repertoire. But it's clearly an extension. What about the Madhuramani Iyer notes, which was actually composed by Harikesh and Allur Muttaya Bhagavatar? Is it Carnatic? We call it Carnatic. But In reality, it is not. It's just a collection of swarams, and it also came in a movie. Any guesses on the movie? Tillana Mohanambal, Ama. So, Andamari, where do you draw the borders here? So, anyway, let's go on with this further. So, next I want to share a few vignettes from the choral and orchestral work of the past few years. So, basically, we started the first. See, when I went to the US in 1984, one of the things that impressed me was the discipline with which concerts are conducted. So, the audience comes and gets seated, everybody is formally dressed, and the artists take their positions. There's silence before, during, and after the concerts. The applause happens only at prescribed times. People don't drink water on stage. I mean, we have adapted. So there is a very benign atmosphere here in our setting. This benign informality, so to say. So, kacheri, it doesn't have to be a formal kacheri. It's a kacheri, right? So, what else would you expect there when the deity is being taken out in procession, or when the deity is in a Navaratri Kolu or something like that? There will be a sense of informality, people walking in and walking out and all that. So there is a contrast in the whole paradigm itself. However, what impressed me was, having not seen it here, the fact that you have a written score and everything conforms to the score. Multiple things are happening at the same time, and everything is held together by something. So, in a big orchestra, it's like a conductor holding the whole thing together. But if it's a little quartet, like 4 people playing together, the only thing that's holding them together is the time signature, the passage of time as written on the score, and what they're playing from the score. So, everything is written to the T. It is not, nothing is left to guessing or anything. So, when I was writing scores later on, I realized that even the sound of the jalra, open or shut, had to be specified. Because otherwise the instrumentalist will not play. You have to tell everything, and that makes sense. You don't leave anything to chance. It's a lot more fun recording here, because you can tell the sir, Vasinga sir, he'll play. He or she will know exactly what you want, and they'll play. But Anga Abdila, you're dealing with union orchestras who play concert after concert for different artists, and it has to be spelled out, and that's a culture. And the kids being raised there are used to that. So if there's any ambiguity in a score or something like that, my daughter will be the first one to point out. Appa, make this clear. So, so I noticed that attending concerts, and I said, okay, how would it be if we combined some Indian ragas with some kind of a structure? So just playing around, got myself a keyboard and learned how to sequence, and released my first album in 1992. It was called Thiruvarangam. It was based on Alvar Pasurangal. Then in 93, 94, one of my friends said, hey, why don't you start a choir? So I started a choir in Cincinnati with young singers. There were about 20 of them. They used to come home, and we used to go down. We were living in a big apartment building. We used to go down, rent a space there. 20 of us used to get together and practice. They were not trained in Karnatic music, but over a period of time, they picked up fluency, and then within a 8-month period, they got good enough to perform a concert. And that blew us away, because what was possible with 20 voices was very different from what a trained singer could deliver. It actually touched some space within your heart. And at that time, I was recollecting what I had seen on TV growing up with M.B. Srinivasan's choir and stuff like that. So that was a fantastic effort here in Chennai, and this is the 100th year of Sri M.B. Srinivasan. And what we started in Cincinnati was 1994. So this is the 30th year in Cincinnati. So that was the very first Indian choir in the United States back in 1994. And of course, we used some electronic music accompaniment and all that. And that was viewed by some of the local people. And they said, why don't we collaborate? So for the first time in 1996, we collaborated with a church choir and created a production called The Blue Jewel. The Blue Jewel is a celebration of the earth. So the thing is, we were from different backgrounds. People from India, young people, then older people in the church who were committed to the environment and the idea of protecting the space that we live in, and just leading a kinder life and all that. So when our ideas met, and we researched more into Native American philosophies, and created this production called The Blue Jewel, which is still relevant today. And then one thing led to another. Then 9/11 came. Then at that point in time, the director of The Blue Jewel, she approached me and said, hey, can you create something that celebrates world peace? I said, look, I have an idea of creating something that celebrates the heritage of India, 5,000 years of Indian cultural history, and I want 100 singers on stage, and I want a symphony orchestra on stage, and I want an Indian ensemble on stage, and I want like 30, 40 dancers. She said, please make sure that you include us in this dream of yours. So we started working together, and I knocked on doors to get singers. It's not like Chennai. In Chennai, you look for singers, you find them everywhere. From this room, I can get 10 singers, I know that. But it's not like that in Cincinnati, where the Indian community was small. Not anymore. Now we have a lot of people. So at the time, I literally knocked on doors. And I said, I need 100 singers. And people kind of looked at me with, Paitikaram also. Then I used to go to events and say, sir, I'm looking for singers, can you make an announcement? So one event organizer, he goes and announces. So he asked me, so what about Karnatic training? I said, no, training doesn't matter. If they have a good ear for music, we can work with them. So he goes to the mic and announces, everybody please note, Kanniks is building a choir, he's looking for singers, it doesn't matter if he cannot sing. So, no, that's not what he said. But then slowly then actually what my wife said was, if you're going to make such requests, I'm not coming with you. So but that's how it started. And finally, before we realized it, we got like 90 singers or something. And the Western choir, there were like 40, 50 or something. So it's like one day we gathered in a church to rehearse, and I had written a piece on the river Ganga, using verses from Adi Shankara's Ganga Stotram. So when we performed it, we expected 45 people to show up that night. It was a cold, snowy night. And they had to get 40 extra chairs. So it's like 85 people showed up one Thursday night to rehearse that song. And literally the Ganga flowed in the auditorium that way. So that day we knew, okay, we are going to do something nice. So it grew. It only grew. And then once people started looking at what we had created, a classmate of mine from IIT Madras who lives in Allentown, Pennsylvania. See, Allentown, Pennsylvania is a Cook Gramam. And friends of mine used to ridicule me saying that I lived in Cincinnati, which is a Cook Gramam. But Cincinnati is actually a combination of small and big. It has international flights now. It did not during the pandemic. Prior to that, we were very well connected. And it has big companies as well as small companies. It's easier to find parking compared to New York and all that. It's not a big city, but it's not like Dallas or anything for people that have visited the US. But it is a nice place. And they say that if the world is coming to an end, you want to move to Cincinnati. Why? Because things happen in Cincinnati 20 years after everything happens everywhere else. That is a going joke. But actually, interestingly, we first created this choir work in 1994 in Cincinnati with the Indian community. And only 20 years later, it started happening elsewhere. So, yeah, literally 2014. So that's something to feel very, very good about. So this friend in Allentown called me, and then we started. I used to make trips out there, and we trained people, and slowly the work grew. Again, the Houston. Then by that time, I had gotten acquainted with Swami Dayananda Saraswati, who I regard as a spiritual mentor, guru, and I look up to him for inspiration. And அவர் 2004 நான் அவரை மீட் பண்ணும்போது I said, சார் இந்த மாதிரி சுவாமிஜி இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு ப்ரோக்ராம் பண்ணியிருக்கோம், இங்கே பண்ணலாமே அப்படின்னார். Then he said, talked about Dikshitar and everything. The next year I went there, he picked me from a crowd and said, உங்கள் Dikshitar research எல்லாம் எப்படி இருக்கு? So I was blown away. See, he picks me from somewhere in the last row. He remembers that he had met me 1 year ago. Then after that, he used to talk regularly about Dikshitar. So when we released the album on the Notisvara Sahityas of Dikshitar in 2008, he happily said, Ninga release panlame. So he actually released it there, and again he released it in Naradagana Sabha. Indialayum idu pono, nariya per kekano. Then he called Mrs. YGP and said, "Ingo school la solli kudunga adella." Then at that time I made a statement and said, if you look at the nursery rhymes in English, ellame abasa gunama irukkum. They'll all be very what can you say, very negative. What happened to London Bridge falling down? Humpty Dumpty sette poitan. So rain go away. Adu appuram idu rockabye baby and the pavam and the koranda, the cradle will come down and break and all that. So adukku badala if you are able to teach Shamale Meenakshi or something like that, it's a lot better, right? So and also it'll be nice to have a common repertoire of children's songs all over India. So inga school songs alla irukum illaya. So when you get together in a school bus with kids of other schools, you'll actually be able to vibe together and sing, right? So and if you are able to have the Notisvarams represent that, it will be really, really awesome. So anyway, so all that happened, and we performed Shanti in support of a fundraiser for AIM for Seva in Houston. Then Dallas happened, And no, Dallas was not until 2016. But adukku munnala so many other cities happened. So I'm just going to play a quick video which shows the first 10 years of our journey. Thank you. So that was like the first 10 years. Then as we grew, there are a few songs that I wanted to share in particular with you that shows how borders get broken. One is, here is a scene from Krishna, The Joy of Living. This is a production on Krishna, which we did in the Bay Area a few years ago. I wrote the script and the music and everything. Most of the singers were Gujaratis, Maharashtrians and others. There were a few people that spoke Tamil. But just listen to the song. So இது வந்து we are only used to listening to this in the classical paradigm, right? Hamsanandi Ragathla, which M.S. Subbulakshmi used to sing. ஆமாம். பட் ஆனால் இது வந்து this is a kuravai. This is danced to by the Aichiyar. Aichiyarனா யார்? The gopis, Gopikas threes basically. அந்த தமிழ்நாட்டில் இந்த இன்டீரியரில் no, or was it in Madurai itself? ஆமாம். They perceived that bad omens were happening. அதுக்கு எதாவது காம்பன்சேட் பண்ணணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு they did this குரவை in honor of Krishna. ஸோ அந்த ஆய்ச்சியர் குரவைன்னு ஒன்று இருக்குது. அதே மாதிரி there is another one on Durga basically. That's Aanai Thol Porthu அப்படினு வரும். So that is all these are folk songs basically. நம்ம classically வந்ததனால we think they should be sung in Adi Thalam with that kind of a formal setting, but actually இதெல்லாம் இது clearly they have a folk beat. Tisrathila தான் இது பாடுறோம். This is clearly Tisram. And with the folk tune, with the kolatam, and in fact we've even done garba for this actually. So that's how these things play together. So another thing I wanted to share was the composition of Dakshinamurti, which is very close to my heart. Yes. The lyrics are, I adapted the lyrics from Dikshitar, from the Penath Yuthi composition, and wrote it for a major scale for children and an orchestra. This is very slow, and it has some sukshmam in it. See if you can get it. So the mari there's a play on the word Mauninam. Dakshinamurti teaches in silence, and what does he teach? He teaches the truth of existence. Who am I? And in the truth is established in teaching without oral communication. So adala we play on the word Mauni here, and it's really beautiful in the voices of children. So to me, this is a very special one. Maunam. Thank you. So there's a couple of other pieces I want to share, but Mukkima, we are running out of time. Karpuram Narumo, we usually used to listening to it in Kamas. I had retuned it, and actually I had talked to Sujata, a writer. So he had listened to my Thiruvarangam, and he said, "Ninga Nachiyar Thirumozhi pannungola apdinar." So this was back in 2001. Yeah, 2001 la meet pannabodu. That's what he suggested. So I came up with a set of 6 tunes, and we were planning. We had big ideas. So Bombay Jayashree, Nityashree, valala kooptu record pannalam apdinu. But somehow the project fell through the cracks. So, but I had the tune with me, and I said, okay, why don't I arrange it for an orchestra? And now that my daughter is old enough to sing it, she sang it in 2019 at the World Tamil Conference, Ulaga Tamil Maanadu. So, and this is what it looks like.
செவ்வாய் தான் தித்தித்திருக்குமோ கற்பூரம் நாருமோ கமலப்பூ நாருமோ திருப்பவழ செவ்வாய் தான் தித்தித்திருக்குமோ மறுபசித்த மாணவன் வாய்ச்சுவை மாற்றமும் திருப்பொற்று கேட்கின்றேன் மறுபசித்த மாதவன் வாய்ச்சுவை மாற்றமும் திருப்பொற்று கேட்கின்றேன் ஆழிவெண் சங்கே கோதப்பெரும் சங்கே கற்பூரம் நாருமோ கமலப்பூ நாருமோ திருப்பவழ செவ்வாய் தான் தித்தித்திருக்குமோ திருப்பொற்று கேட்கின்றேன் சங்கே சொல் ஆழிவெண் சங்கே
So this, so it keeps going, and it's almost 11:30, and just like to pause for questions or any thoughts or anything. Anyone? Sundar, yes.
Question about Dikshita, since you are extensively researching Dikshita.
Yeah.
So, not related to music, but yeah, we all know that he has extensively traveled from
Ama.
Karnatic to Tebra.
Yeah.
But I could not find out anything related with this Kongu region, Coimbatore road. So, is there any specific reason?
See, according to the biography written by his nephew, Dikshita traveled from Kasi to Manali. Okay, and then he went to Tirithani where he created his first composition. Adukaprathlindi he only traveled southwards. And southward, if you look at the Egmore pora main line, Chengalpattu, அப்புறம் என்னது விழுப்புரம் விழுப்புரம் கார்ட் லைன் இல்லையே விழுப்புரம் போயிட்டு அங்கேருந்து சிதம்பரம் வழி இல்லை விருத்தாச்சலம் கார்ட் லைன் பட் சிதம்பரம் சீர்காழி வைத்தீஸ்வரன் கோயில் மாயவரம் கும்பகோணம் தட் இஸ் த மெயின் லைன் அவர் மெயின் லைனில் தான் போயிருக்கார் I mean there was no main line at that time but he traveled that route on foot or on bullock cart. We know that he traveled on bullock cart because Subramanian Dikshit specifically mentions bullock cart in Amritavarshini. So அதனால் மாட்டு வண்டியாக போய் இருந்திருக்கு டெஃபினட்டாக. And the sad thing is Subramanian Dikshit's biography of Dikshiter is only like 1.5 pages or 2 pages long. அவ்வளோதான் அவர் எழுதியிருக்கார். பெரியப்பா வச்சே மாடஸ்ட்டாக எழுதலான்னு எழுதினாருன்னு தெரியல. He's written more about Shyama Shastri and more about Tyagaraja, but not as much about Dikshiter at all. So everything that we know about Dikshiter is from subsequent accounts like Judge irundare T.L. Venkataramayar அவர் எழுதினது and also my teacher's father Kallidakuruchi Ananthakrishna Iyer, which is remarkably close to what T.L. Venkataramayar wrote. அப்புறம் சுந்தரமையர் biography அதெல்லாம் ரங்கராமானுஜர். So they are all very close, but they have a lot of other stories in there like the வீணை கடைச்ச கதை and all. Many of these can be taken metaphorically, may not be, I mean, you don't even, miracles தேவையில்லை because music itself is a miracle. So அதில் வந்து காஷ்மீர் போனதா there is no account anywhere. So only from some of the compositions we kind of assume, but those compositions are probably also not authentic. Pashupatishwaramலாம் it doesn't look authentic. So any other questions? Nothing. Now 1 hour பேசிருக்கேன்.
In US, what is the response from the typical classical rasikas of the Western music? So how do they receive this?
Very good. It's a very good question. In the first of all, the ஒன்று வந்து if you address the general question of how do we expect us to be perceived, my answer is that we don't expect to be perceived in any way, because we have a great culture, we know it, and we are not Kannathith Thavalai anyway, because we are looking at Yamarinda Mozhigalil Bharatiyar when he said he was not speaking in a vacuum. He had actually studied those other Mozhigal also. And when we look at other traditions and the depth of what we have, we definitely have something. We will not call it the best. I mean, there's no point calling best and worst or anything like that, but there's a lot of depth in what we offer. Do we need an acknowledgement? Do we need an appreciation from an external body? The answer is no, because we already know what it is. But at the same time, do we want to share the music with others? Yes, absolutely. And if they enjoy it the same way we do we get happy? Yes, actually, we do. So, if regular Karnatic kacheri abdinu paatha, when Ravi Shankar, or in Indian music concerts paatha, when Ravi Shankar did his stuff, a lot of people used to come. Lots of people used to come. Even now, the name Ravi Shankar carries a lot of weight. In general, Hindustani music concerts, Zakir Hussain and all, they carry a lot more weight. Carnatic music, because the heaviness of the textual matter and also the lack of the spectacular array of instruments, we don't have that kind of a non-Indian audience or even a participation in it. But what I have seen over the years is that when the Western choirs sing with us, they find some kind of a satisfaction that is very different elsewhere. So interestingly, I have not shared some of the major works. One is called Shanti, A Journey of Peace, with a 150-member chorus. இப்போ நீங்கள் பார்த்தது முரசு, which was done for the Tamil Nadu Foundation. இந்த வருஷம் we did something called Igai, which is almost completely based on the compositions on the writings of Bharatiyar, emphasizing Igai from Vellai Thamarai Poovil Irupal. So there is one whole paragraph talking about giving. So அதை emphasize பண்ணி we made a production out of it. So lyrics, in the choir we had some Western singers singing. And Ashanti ஒரு piece இருக்கு in my production called Shanti, which deals with the lack of peace. So, as the 30th anniversary, we had a celebratory concert with the Cincinnati Chamber Orchestra, and I really cannot play that. I have the video with me, but I cannot play it because we are not allowed to stream it online. I can show it privately to you, or if the camera is turned off, I can play a couple of minutes from that. That's a really, really grand concert, and once we get the permissions, we'll be able to post it outside. So, some of my friends who are of non-Indian origin who had attended, they said the way the vibes of the Ashanti piece, which is based on the Raga Shri, with a lot of tension built into it, and the Shruti Vedam going to other ragas and all that, it really hit them as there was something discordant. Adile the resolve pannittu going into Vagadishwari and then finally resolving the whole thing with the Tarana and Charukesi with a lot of energy in the end. He said I was a different person when I left the hall. So there is some impact that this is beginning to do. Adu eppadi puriya vekkradhunu theriyala, but at the same we are not looking for certifications from anywhere. But the thing is, it is really, really nice when we are able to expand our audiences. Not only expand our audiences, get other people who are companions in other things. We work with them, we eat with them, we do a lot of other things. Can we sing with them? Can we sing their music with them? Of course, yes. Can they sing our music with us? If it is written properly and if it calls to them, yes, they will sing. If it's about the environment, Purnamada Purnamidam and all, they've chanted with us. So what more can you ask for? So that is the thing. First of all, எதுக்கு attract பண்ணணும்? I mean, if we want to just to share the joy of it, okay, once if they sing and enjoy it, they will get it. That is one. So அந்த மாதிரி people will definitely come, and of course do some publicity and present it in a way. You don't have to dilute or change anything. Just present it in a way that is actually framed and acceptable. So when I go to an opera, I don't expect any changes in opera. But at the same time, the classical music audiences, Western classical music audiences in the West, they are also looking for new audiences. So it is not a one-sided battle at all. They are looking for new audiences. They are looking to that, which is why in Cincinnati they collaborated with me this year to create a production called Many Colors of India. So it started with a new work that I wrote called the Chitrahar Overture. Chitrahar Overture is like a 12-minute tribute to 10 decades of Bollywood music. So I'm sure many of you would love to hear it. So please stay in touch with me when we do the film screening in November. We'll not stream it outside, but we will definitely play it on the screen. You should watch it. You will really like it. Because there are like 60 tunes that fly past in about 12 minutes. Adhe mari Tamil I wrote one called the Thirai Isai Overture. That's about 15 minutes. Adhe mari the tune. Covering everything all the way from MS or Meera. That I can play. Time illa avladhaan. So, Anna, one more thing. I wanted to talk about cultural appropriation. So, what is cultural appropriation? Usurping something and not recognizing the source, not acknowledging the source. So, what is the prime example that comes to your mind? Yoga. Yoga, how big is the yoga industry? It's billions of dollars. Anna, is the source of yoga acknowledged? If you go to a yoga studio in America or someplace, will they acknowledge Tirumolar? No. Do a lot of people even know that Tirumolar described asanas in his work Tirumandiram? So actually we have made songs out of that and we have performed in productions like this. So in the Raga Jog as well as in the Raga Mohanam and so on and so forth with yoga choreography and all that, because in a small way we can try to educate as many people as possible. But Tirumolar is not acknowledged. Even Patanjali is not acknowledged because you read a lot of academic papers which say that yoga potentially grew from gym-based exercises in the 1900s or the late 1800s. See, that it is atrocious. And then there are people that actually front date all the ancient people, saying that Tirumolar did not live in the 5th century, he lived in the 13th century. So, I mean, that's what happens. And this is all this goes in the name of research, scholarly research, and people buy these bestseller books and all that kind of stuff. So we have a responsibility to prevent cultural appropriation. So we all do a little bit in ways and means possible. One is through music, the other is through writing papers and writing articles and making sure that the word gets around. The other example of appropriation is kirtan. So the Nama Sankirtanam that we have, we have the idea of a kirtan that we have in North India, where you play the harmonium and you sing and somebody else sings along with you. It's become kirtan in the US, and there's a lot of kirtan cars. And so it's not uncommon to see even Indian audiences in a kirtan that's led by somebody that's not of Indian origin, completely mispronouncing all the words and all that. It sells well, there are albums, they get millions and millions of views and all that. So this is what we call clear cultural appropriation. Doesn't mean that we should not share our culture. This is open source, right? Our culture is open source. But why do you not acknowledge? See, when we look at the choral work that we are doing, so the thing I always say is that people like M.V. Srinivasan, they walked so that we can run. So that is the acknowledgement which is needed. Adhe mari, the work that we are doing is walking for somebody else who may be able to do something bigger at a later date. But the acknowledgement pandrathu mariyada. Pannaman the idea was surutradhu, it's not a good thing at all. It happens in all cultural fields, and it kind of so that is why they have protections in place like patents and all that. But it's very sad. You need to patent yoga. Do you need to patent manjapodi? So I mean that is the way the world is headed, sadly. So I mean that was not the subject of the talk, but I want to mention that acknowledgement is a critical factor that is always needed in anything we do. Acknowledging the Purvikas who have done some similar work in this. So let me just play a small part of the Tamil overture and then we'll stop. I'll get my stuff by this.
அவங்களுக்கு ஹெல்ப் பண்ணேன்.
Thank you very much. சொல்லுங்க சார்.
Have you done any program in India, Chennai?
No, Chennai we did one in IIT Madras, but on a much smaller scale. Valam paadnale. So, yeah, but we need to do something on this scale in India at some point in time. It will be really nice.
Music season.
Yeah, music season la idu eduvaduma theriyadu. It has to be an off-season thing with a big orchestra. Maybe NCP or orchestra which you can try to do something in Bombay. So we'll see. God willing. So, yeah.
I wanted to ask you one question.
Please.
Because you are a pioneer, you said L.D. Srinivasan.
Yeah.
L.D. Srinivasan relies more on human voices rather than instruments.
Correct.
So what motivated you to include instruments in your choir?
Choir work? Ilayaraja. So,
Because you were influenced by literature and
Amma.
other things. See, normally
Yeah.
in Indian classical or whatever it is, we give prominence to the voice.
to the voice, yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
So the instruments are only real like kuda unakke vara madiri.
Yeah, புரிஞ்சது. Yeah, but I've done a cappella pieces also.
Yeah, acapella.
Yeah, ஒரே ஒரு செகண்ட் சார் பேசும்போது I'll just get this started so you will. Yeah. Yeah. So that's purely 150 voices, both Indian and American, singing the Shanti mantra. So invocation of peace அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி. So okay, sir, நீங்க சொல்லுங்க சார். Thank you. I just want to look at the flight timing. நீங்க சொல்லுங்க. Yeah.
The advantage with a person like Kanniks is, when I'm here, can I do something like this? We did this in 2014. I don't know, after that, he didn't have much time to do it. This time, well in advance, he told me whether we can do it. Only thing is that time and date, we had to fix it. Finally, actually what it was to be yesterday. For some reason, I could not do it. Today it is happening. And he has to go another 10 minutes to catch his flight. I will take just 5 minutes because as organizer, I thought I should say a few things. Seemaiyil Sangeetham அப்படின்னாக்கா நான் என்ன முதல்ல நினச்சேன், ஹவு சீமையில் சங்கீதம் வளர்ந்துட்டுருக்கு அப்படின்றதுக்காகட்டு. அப்புறம் person with his background and with his knowledge of music, what he has done is real wonder. This is not done by anybody else, whoever has gone. Our people have gone and taught, they have created many disciples, we have created big number of people to follow. In fact, if I am correct, we have more gurus in USA than in India, Tamil Nadu now. We have more number of students singing in US than in here. This season, you will find at least 40 to 50 or even 75 NRIs performing here during that season. I have at least 250 requests that have come from some good sources and with really very capable. We should also acknowledge the children have done wonderful job. They cannot pronounce or talk in Tamil, then pronunciations are really superb than our people. Coming back to Kanniks, what is his speciality is not only he has converted this as a choir, but he has involved the people in US. And he has made them, it is not in a small way, 100, 150, 200. The imagination and his ideas are very commendable. I congratulate you, Kanniks, on this wonderful work you have done. And you have taken it across the globe also. If you see Spain and other places, Singapore, he has gone, all those things. It's a continuously, his mind is a very innovative mind, either on Ganga or on other subjects. He has been continuously doing. And one small thing that you wanted to say is about Tirumular, you were talking about it. I am someone who do lot of this, our Tamil literature works also. I finished Silappadigaram. This December, I am starting a fresh series on Tirumular. Tirumular, we want to authenticate everything that has to be, we are passing on to the next generation. There cannot be any misinterpretation of our culture or the history. Sudha Session will be doing that program, and we can be very sure it will be of a very high quality, and we will cover the important parts of it on Tirumular. That's it. So you did a wonderful job. This is something that we have to do it when you come next year. We are looking forward to the other things. Thank you for this. Thank you.
Sorry for the rush. Then I can.